Welcome to the bridge. Hi everyone, it's May 2nd, 2015, and on the East Coast in America it's 7 after 7 at night. I'm so happy I was able to get the stream tonight, and I'm glad that you all tuned in because I'm going to talk about mystics tonight. So what do I have next? I have a little bit of a recording that I made this morning. It's a 9-minute recording that I made on my porch this morning, and it's about just my morning thoughts on what a mystic is. So tonight I wanted to talk about postmodern mystics. Well, what's postmodern? You know, what's a mystic? But mystics throughout time are exactly the same. They're the artists, they're the dancers, they're the poets, they're the musicians, they're the singers, they're the drummers, they're the storytellers. They're people who try to convey things that are beyond words. Everything from the oneness of all creation to the dark night of the soul. So I'm telling you about this while I'm sitting out on my porch and hanging out with the birds. Just listen to that. You're never alone. Ever. That bird's singing because that bird is living. Life is a gift. We gotta unplug sometimes to realize that. You know, we're all so plugged in, turned on. But are we really switched on? When all our energy is going into these devices? Yeah, that's why I understand now. I had to be broken from my TV addiction by force of economic sanctions for living in the woods. Yeah. Out here in the woods, you gotta ignore the gunshots so you can hear the birds. Out here in the woods, you gotta just deal with the fact that you're gonna pay a lot of money for internet, and you're still gonna have a data usage limit to deal with. So pay $100, get 20 gigs of data. What can you do with that? Fuck all. Fuck all you can do with that. So I listen to the birds. It makes it worth it. Still not moving back. Whatever sanctions they lay on me. Hear that buzzing? That's my hummingbird relative come to visit. Good morning. You're beautiful. Bye-bye. You want to know what prayer is? Prayer is everyday practical magic. It's putting your intention out there into the universe. So it's a good idea when you pray to pray with gratitude for your life, for your relationships, for the infinite power you have that scares the crap out of you, for your ancestors. And they were all mystics too, just like you. Imprisoned in their own idea cages. The ones they built themselves and the ones that were forced upon them by the psychopaths in charge. See, when I'm out here, when I say, "Can I get an amen?" I get an amen, but it's from the birds. And from the rednecks, I get some gunshots. So that's an amen. That's an amen from the redneck section. Amen. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to tell you about mysticism right now. And I'm going to give you some good examples. On the bridge, I've sought to give others a platform in which to tell their stories and share their work. And I'm so thankful to the listeners for tuning in and sharing their insights and appreciation for my real work. I'm also thankful to People's Internet Radio for the home that they have given me to do my work. We seek solutions at People's Internet Radio, and I've found some solutions. And I've recently begun a food sovereignty project called Yellow Thunder Food Sovereignty. Right now, we have $700. Woohoo! Thank you. And we've started to build the straw bale garden. We've gotten a bunch plowed for the Three Sisters Garden, and we also have an area in front of the house that we plowed up, and I started planting the teas and the flowers and the medicines that'll go in that garden, kind of like a kitchen garden. I think what I'm going to do is just play another little thing for you that I had put together to really just explain what this food sovereignty project really is. So let me see, let me find it. Okay. And you'll hear an update in there about how much money we had at the time that I made the recording, but we're up to 700 now, and thank you guys so much. Hi everyone. I wanted to tell you about what we're up to at Yellow Thunder Food Sovereignty. My husband Majiki and I have decided to take on hunger in our local community of Frederick County, Virginia. We have acquired 6 acres and we're putting together a community garden to help hungry families who are struggling with hunger and food insecurity. When we first moved to the area 7 years ago, our son was in the Head Start program, and we put together a community garden with the other parents, which was very successful and which garnered support from the local community. Virginia Cooperative Extension was particularly supportive, holding canning classes and master gardener classes. So we plan to leverage those community support structures in place. The vision for Yellow Thunder Food Sovereignty is far more extensive than a community garden, but we realize that it took many years for our communities to find themselves in the situations that they're in, so it's going to take years to climb out together as well. I have envisioned manifesting this project in 3 phases, the first of which is the community garden. We currently have a $4,000 funding goal to build the infrastructure of the gardens. We need fencing. That's the biggest expense right now. Materials to build beds, fruit trees, and berry bushes. We also need to build a lamb shelter for the 2 lambs that are being donated. Since our back porch is falling off and we need to rebuild it anyway, we decided to, as Majikia calls it, feed 2 birds with 1 piece of bread and build the lamb shelter under the back porch. Build them together. We will have to work on keeping the area very clean, but the heat of the house will help keep the sheep warm in the winter, and the heat of the sheep will help keep the house warm in the winter. Phase 2, we will begin to experiment with renewable energy for our goal of getting off the grid and creating a sustainable system. We will also transition to a full working organic farm and begin to bring products to market. Small family farms are no longer profitable as corporatism has destroyed the family farm, so that's why it makes sense for us to be a nonprofit. We will have an on-site food bank for our community members who currently have to drive 15 to 20 miles to the nearest food bank or store. We will continue to offer plots to local families to assist in their own quest for food sovereignty. Our first big crop will be garlic. We have a local elder who has grown garlic in the area for many years, and he is advising us on how to grow and harvest garlic. Our next crop will be rice. Part of our property is on the floodplain of the creek, so rice in that area makes sense because it wouldn't matter if that area floods. Phase 3, we will add value by turning our organization into an educational organization, teaching local families how to gain food sovereignty, as well as teaching other communities on how to gain their own food sovereignty. By leveraging our successes and failures, we can come up with some strong lessons and plans on moving forward in the struggle against poverty, hunger, and food insecurity. Let's face it, we may never go back to the kind of prosperity that Americans once enjoyed, but we can work together to ensure that members of our communities have healthy food to put on the table and learn skills that can keep them healthier and happier for a lifetime. You can help this project by donating to valkyra1969@gmail.com through PayPal. That's VALKYRA 1969@gmail.com. As of April 18th, 2015, we have $538 towards our $4,000 funding goal. I want to thank everyone who has donated to our cause so far, and those of you who have pledged your support. right. So thanks, everybody. We're up to 700, and I'm blown away, and I'm really, really thankful for everybody who's helped us and everybody who's shared this information, and everybody, all my listeners and everybody at the station. We call our drum, our family drum, Yellow Thunder Singers, or Yellow Thunder, because our son's Potawatomi name means Yellow Thunder. Zaujikwe is his name. So everything we do pretty much is for him, and for everybody who comes after us. In the Indian, American Indian tradition, for a long time it was illegal to name your children an Indian name. So there was this forced tradition of having to name your child a Christian name, or what's called an American name. That's what you could put on the birth certificate. But the tradition of naming through ceremony never ended. And so many natives, even today, have their American name, and then they have their Indian name. And also receive names in other ceremonies as well. So our son received his name after a 3-day ceremony. And the way the Potawatomi do it is you don't get named, you don't name two people the same name, because you're named after an ancestor, and that's pretty much, that's who you are. That's what's kind of found out in the ceremony. So my mother-in-law went to the tribe and asked which names were available, and she got a list. And she kept that list with her, and during the ceremony, she concentrated on those names. And the one that came to her during the ceremony when it was time to name him was Zaujikwe. And he was born into the Bird Clan, but when he took that name, he also became Thunder Clan as well. And at the moment in the ceremony where he received that name, it started to thunder. And it was sunny everywhere else in the town that we were at the time, in Pennsylvania. During the ceremony, it's only family that's at the actual ceremony itself, but then you invite your whole community to the after celebration. And so everybody else that came after the ceremony was over to the celebration was surprised that it was all wet everywhere, because they had just come from across town where it was sunny and dry. So names are important. It's not only important to receive the name that reminds us of who we are, but also important to name our journeys and to name our experiences in a way that puts our challenges into context and gives our lives the kind of meaning we were always seeking, whether we recognize it or not. So I've been letting everybody else sort of tell their story, and my story seeps in a little bit in the way that I relate to my guests. But I did want to tell you all a little bit about myself. My people are from the Gulf region, Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi. I'm of Scotch, Irish, English, and Choctaw descent. And we've also recently discovered a significant amount of Basque ancestry in my father's bloodline. My parents met at Louisiana Tech and divorced when I was 4. I grew up primarily in Southern California, but also in Eastern Pennsylvania. I spent a large portion of my childhood going back and forth between my parents' homes in Southern and Northern California. In junior high, we moved back east with my mother to Pennsylvania, and that's where I would say I pretty much became the nonconformist that I continue to be today. I went to college in New England, and I met my first husband in Boston when I was 19 at an Irish play on Beltane. After attending Ealing College in London in an exchange program, I came back to Boston and I married him at 21. There was a wee bit of pressure, as he would be deported if he didn't marry an American. He was from Buxton, but his mother was from Galway, and his father's mother was from Manchester. Her parents were from Ireland. She had an affair with a Wilde and was abandoned to raise her son alone. My first husband's father would have been a Wilde, but instead he was given his mother's last name, Cassidy. My current husband also has his mother's last name, but more about that later. After I divorced my first husband, I moved to Washington, D.C. to live with my sister and find work. And 3 years later, I moved to Oakland, California. I remember one of my friends at work asking me, "Aren't you afraid to move to Oakland, California?" And I was like, well, I live in Washington, D.C., so no, I'm not afraid. Not at all. But I moved there to get my master's degree, and that's where I studied a lot about mystics at Matthew Fox's school. And after graduating, I learned to sing powwow songs. And I met my current husband at a powwow in Oakland in 1998. And we were friends for 9 months before we began dating. And I married him on winter solstice 2000 at the age of 31. A month away from my 35th birthday, I gave birth to our son, Connor. I've spent my entire adult life in near poverty, struggling to pay bills and feed myself and family. And although I'm well educated, my education does not translate into the ability to make a better living than my peers. It actually harms me because, I'm saddled with debt that doesn't, I'll never be able to pay it. And then I intimidate every boss I've ever had with my education. So, the third thing is that I followed my bliss, and the things that I specialized in aren't really valued by the dominant culture. So, there's no help wanted signs for philosopher poets out there. You just kind of got to wing it. So I was promised the ability to pursue a career in academia, but that proved impossible for a free-thinking mixed blood who looks too white to be Indian and thinks too Indian to be white. So I walk between worlds, never fully welcome in any. So when I started doing radio, I thought it'd be a good way to use my education and just be the teacher that I am. So I'm so grateful to those of you who's joined me and have been any part of this journey of checking out my shows and seeing where things are going. And thank you for those who have supported my work and shared my work. And some of you may even remember when I started my first show on Tyrannosaur. And then I moved to Type 1 and then People's Internet Radio. I've been doing radio for a little over a year and I've loved it. Broadcasting live has recently become very difficult for me because my internet provider, I can only get satellite. And the one I have now, the ping rate is so shitty that I'll never be able to grab the stream from there, even when I do have my 20 gigs of data before it goes away in the first week. So I've been coming in my truck to Starbucks and doing my thing, and it's I've been loving that too, but it's kind of taken a toll because I've got a lot of other things going on too. My brother-in-law has got stage 4 liver failure, and his kidneys are messed up, so things aren't looking good there. So I think probably whatever emotional resources I may have had to just deal with the general sort of everyday pain in the ass stuff associated with live broadcasting, I just don't think I have that. And so the sort of stuff you deal with has really, really been getting on my nerves. So I'm in the process of manifesting this Yellow Thunder food sovereignty. It's been a long time vision that I share with my husband, Majikia, and it's a way for us to honor what we're here to do and the culture of sharing that we love about Native cultures. It's a way to celebrate the gifts of the earth together and with others who know that scarcity is a result of pathology and not a natural state of being. It's how I do anarchy, digging in the dirt, Scarcity results from unjust food distribution systems. So all we got to do is share, because the earth gives us all that we need, all the time. So we got to live in gratitude too for that, because that's pretty amazing. So I've been thinking this week about how I declared in the Moon Lodge that I am my own hero, and it's up to me and only me to rescue me, and I'm responsible for my happiness. And so I need to do that, and not just say it, but do it. So I would really appreciate it if I could take a break from live broadcasting. If any of the other hosts out there want to broadcast my content, I'll still be making it, but for a while I need to take a break from live broadcasting so I can do my food sovereignty project and take care of my health and take care of myself. There's been a except for tonight, thankfully, kind of a clusterfuck of mistakes and things that happen around my show. And when I put that together with being invited on another host's show, and there was another host that was a guest as well, and he did the interview, and it didn't feel supportive to me. So I can't imagine that it was intended to be, but at any rate, I have briefly made myself available, but was told I was overthinking things, so I just don't want to allow myself to be gaslit in that way. And I tell my listeners, trust your gut, so I got to do that myself as well. So I would be honored if any of the other hosts would help me and broadcast my content. But right now, what I want to do is I want to play you some music as an example of what a mystic looks like. And it's called Every Minute.
I tried so hard to be the person everybody thought I was. push myself and everyone almost over the edge. This mirrored light that sends back everything that you send out. The grace you give, giving back. Loving every minute you live. Feels so good to be walked in the sun. Loving every minute I'm living. So good to be walked in the sun. Loving every minute I'm living. Evil deed that we do, screaming from the headline, can't stop to read or to walk. 'Cause I ain't got the patience or time to live a life of despair. To live by another man's word, it's always been in your hands. To live the life you want while you're here. Oh, feels so good to be walked in the sun. Loving every minute I'm living. So good to be walked in the sun. Loving every minute I'm living. I don't care what you say to me. Everywhere, this is all I see. And it don't make a damn difference. I've been afraid of me. I'm loving every minute. I'm loving every minute I'm free. So good to be walked in the sun. Loving every minute of living. It's so good to be walked in the sun. Loving every minute of living. Good to be walked in the sun. Loving every minute of living. Good to be walked in the sun. Loving every minute of
Yeah, so what's that song talking about? That we all have the choice. That's about being responsible for your own happiness and appreciating the gift that you've been given by being alive. That's what the mystic talks about. You know, some mystics are contraries too. And the older I get, the more I realize that I may be a bit of a contrary myself. Maybe that's what the nonconformism has been about my whole life. That, and I was just born different, you know. So it's a decision I had to make. to survive. So what does the contrary do? Well, the contrary pokes fun at the psychopaths in charge. And really, those who are in charge, whether they're psychopaths or not, who get carried away with being in charge. So, trouble with authority. That's what the contrary is painted to look like in our sick society, But there are cultures like Lakota culture, traditional Lakota culture, that the contrary is seen as a needed member of the community. So, the other thing that mystics talk about is the joy that has no opposite, the becoming part of it, the oneness of all creation. And those words, those are words, unless you've had the experience of those words are just words. So, some other good examples are, when Thomas Sheridan talks about connecting to the land, or the ancestors, or the spirits of the land. I've recently been asked to talk a little bit more about how Abrahamic religions have infected us in America and Europe and everywhere but the Middle East that it's taken over. And for someone to get that, you need to connect with the spirits of the land that you're living on. So for even, those Americans who don't have native ancestry, all Americans have access to connect to the ancestors of this land, or the land of wherever they're at. But you as a person, who you are, it's your birthright to be able to know the stories of your people. And any culture that's been kept from their stories, it's for a reason. Because there's power in those stories. So the first thing the psychopaths in charge do when they're infecting a new land, a new world, is to co-opt those people's gods and turn them into something they're not. To outlaw their real religion, to outlaw their language, to outlaw the stories, to outlaw the singing. Because there's power in that. To convey to you who you are. Really are. So in order to be a site of resistance or non-compliance, time to start singing. Time to start telling stories again. Time to sit outside with the birds. Reconnect with yourself. So, given my latest obsession with the mystic known as J.J. Grey, I'm going to play another song. And this one is a little bit about that, what I was just talking about with connecting to the spirits of the land that you are on.
stories long forgotten. So many deeds between, shouting out across the bottom. Neath the ghostly twilight, a bosom filled with shining stars. Secrets sing down through the ages, as bright as lightning bugs and jars. All beneath the canopy of ageless souls whose secrets keep forever in a beauty. Silent is my home. Rolling hills by handful built by natives who were never found. The only hints left of the passing are ancient shells that ghost the ground. Bone white, they tell a story of all the slaves who graced the shore, of cotton fields so long plowed under, a jungle now upon a storm. All beneath the canopy of ageless souls whose secrets keep forever in a beauty. Silent is my home. Silent is my home.
So, yep. I need more silence. I've gotten used to this no TV thing. It's pretty nice. And I've also gotten into making recordings, like of the birds and just different thoughts in the morning and at night. So right now, since it's starting to, it's around dusk here, I want to take y'all down to the creek with me. Hear them frogs and hear the sounds of the creek. Y'all can come down here and have a smoke with me. Although I'm not having a smoke, but in cyberspace I'm having a smoke down at the creek. So, I will have to live with however the station wants to handle my vacation from broadcasting. If they need to give away my slot, then they need to do that. But if they would like to continue to broadcast the content that I'm going to create, then they can do that as well. I ain't got no hard feelings either way. I'm at peace with all outcomes. I'll just put it that way. And doing my best to take responsibility for myself and my own happiness. So, that way I can just keep the love in my heart, which is how I like to remain. So relaxing down here. I tell you, those frogs are getting it on. They are having little tadpoles left and right. The other thing about mystics is mystics are instinctual magicians in a way. Mystics have access to their own understanding, our own, as humans, innate understanding of energy and how it works. And not in the new agey, everything is positive way that energy works. Power is the creek, when it overflows. And even when it's just doing its regular thing. Being a home to life. It's really active around a creek because the water is life. That's what makes it sacred. Because life is sacred. Our bodies are sacred. Don't you love that? Now I have a urge to jump on a bike, just ride it through the woods. But yeah, don't ever let anyone tell you your body's not sacred. It's a gift too. Autoimmune disease and all. It's a gift. One of my recent revelations about autoimmune disease is it means your immune system is working normally. There's a lot of toxins in this world. Not just the poisons that the engines of domination have unleashed upon us, but the thought prisons, right? That's another thing that mystics understand. We can escape a prison only to build another one right around ourselves, if the prison's all you know. So the mystics say you got to become free inside the prison before you can really free yourself from it. Or so I'm told. Tell you something about sound. It's primal. You know your mother's voice before you see her face. The other things that mystics know is this concept of progress, linear progression. Mystics know that is bullshit. That's another thought prison. We used to know a lot more about sound and how to use it and manipulate it. I personally believe that's how we moved the megaliths, with sound. So one of the things that quitting television has done for me is I'm already a very audio-oriented person. That's how I became the keeper of the songs, and because I remember them. After one or two goes, I catch it and I know it. Is that I've become even more audio-oriented, and that's why I've gotten into this minor obsession with making recordings of nature. Because there's something special about the symphony of what's going on in the woods that I think is very centering and does something to your brain waves energetically. Shifts you into a more balanced state. I can sit out here and just listen to this for hours. I'm thinking of recording it all night and just, selling it as a relaxation thing. People can play in their city bedrooms to relax at night. It's like camping. I'm going to try to open the chat. That's another thing. I'm not always absent from the chat because there's assholes sometimes in there, but because it's hard for me to broadcast, host a call, and remain in the chat room all on my laptop in my truck. It's just really hard. So it's not that I'm not interested. Yeah, see. Did y'all hear this splashing? That was the geese. We have some blue heron too, but that was actually the geese, because they landed during the day and I saw them and they made the same sound, so now I know it was them. But I had seen the great blue heron flying when I was making this recording, so I thought it was them landing because it was dark by the time the recording ended, but it actually was the geese landing. Yeah, so I want to make more sort of frog songs and put them together on my. I want to do more recording different songs, and I think I just need a little bit of a break. It's starting to get really hot in my truck, and it's just difficult. So I'm going to keep talking about mystics and just relating it a little bit to my nature recordings. Everything's a song.
I just heard those angels sing, so many voices all arranged in one big harmony. So now, everywhere I look I smile. It's like I'm hearing for the first time all they're singing to me. I hear the U-blue so loud, a seashell for my ear. Oh, the joy, the joy, the joy, the joy with no opposite. It's listen, listen to the falling rain, as sweet of sound as sugar cane, a symphony for me. Oh, I pray, I pray, I pray, I pray that you can hear it too, in the silence that's surrounding you. Oh, I need you there. Oh, yeah. And I put it in all she's singing to me. Every little breath of every dream, whisper to a sound not as deep as the sea. Got me singing along. Everything is the same. I can hear the pine trees sing to the sun. I can hear birds ever having fun. I'm gonna sing along to the rhythm of the world. Singing
Yeah, so, you probably can't, I've noticed that if you listen to the native songs, they get kind of distorted a little bit over the radio, so I've got my opening song available to download on my podcast storage page, and it's underneath my picture. It says opening song. It's a button, opening song 2015. But I'll also create some buttons for the closing song and the song I put on that recording about Yellow Thunder food sovereignty, and I'll make those available as well for people, so that you can hear a better recording of it, or a better sound. I think it's something about the levels, that I'm not really a sound person, but that's something I'm going to be getting more into. There's a lot of different songs I want to record, so I'll be doing that, as well as a lot of gardening, and it's hard work, and it's a lot of work, but it's good work. So, and this radio thing is good work too, and I've had fun. I've had a lot of fun at it, and I hope it's alright. I take a break from the live part so that I can do all these other things I need to do right now, and get myself to where I'm not where I have more emotional resources just to deal with the everyday bullshit associated with radio stuff, like grabbing the stream. There's always going to be technical crap going on. That's just the way it is. Even though we think we know what we're doing, which we do, we all know what we're doing, shit just happens. It just really does. So, we're not really as much in control as we think we are. Not at all, really. So, I will do that. I'm going to check the chat room, see if anybody has any other questions for me, but who wants to talk to me?
Ain't no building tall enough, ain't no shelter safe enough when he opens his mouth. Ain't no wall that's thick enough, ain't no rocket that's high enough when he opens his mouth. I felt the wind blowing, I felt the rain come down, I felt the peace within that can never be without. Right on. Ain't no levee strong enough, ain't no science that's smart enough when he opens his mouth. I felt the wind blowing, I felt the rain come down, I felt the peace within that can never be without. Right on. Right on. Right
Yeah, I was really getting into that song. So, yeah. Hurricanes, they happen. The wind blows. River comes along, takes your house. You know. That's the reality of my ancestors anyway, living in the Gulf region. That place floods. It floods a lot. You know, you hear a lot of conspiracy theories about FEMA. You hear a lot of them. But the reality is, before there was federal disaster assistance, there was the Red Cross. And the Red Cross had two different camps. The white camp and the colored camp. In the colored camp, they ate molasses and bread. In the white camp, they ate fruit and meat. And the colored camp, they were forced to work the levees, but at gunpoint. Indians and black people would hide when the floods came, because they'd be forced to work the levees at gunpoint and eat molasses and bread at the end of doing that all day. You know, when the flood comes, when the tide comes, guess who's first to get killed? The people on the levee. So, federal disaster assistance was a way to equalizing it. So everybody got the same thing when their house went floating down the river. There's a section of our political establishment that just doesn't want to pay for that. They don't want to pay for people's houses to get fixed, unless of course it's in their district. But I'll take the sanctions because I know that living out there is worth it. That the connection that you can make to yourself is worth it. But it would be nice to have a good internet connection. That would be a good thing. But oh well.
Yeah, it would help your job as a broadcaster.
Tremendous.
Yeah, it certainly would. But that seems to be it's just not doable at the minute. Which is an awful pity. Because I was noticing some of your shows getting posted to sites like GLP, which have millions of listeners. And you're obviously touching on some really hard-hitting subjects, and I don't get to listen to you every week, I don't get to listen to every show here on PIR, but it's just not possible, but you cover some really, really interesting subject matter, worthy of taking a look at, especially when it comes to the native cultures of America, and I have to say your show tonight was just astounding, with your special effects and those little sounds in the background. I have to say my mind was totally moved to a different level this evening listening to you, and compliments on this evening's show.
Thank you so much. Well, this is what they're going to be like from now on, and hopefully my internet situation will improve, but I'm honored that you've offered to broadcast my content, Jimmy.
No problem, anytime. And it's quite interesting because myself and Sean do a show on a Sunday, and as of late we've been getting in touch with poets and artists from around the world, and they're using poetry and music in a symbiotic relationship to convey a message, and I couldn't help but think about that this evening while you were doing your show, with the special sound effects. Is this a direction that you kind of focused on now just at the minute, is using audio along with voice to convey a message?
Yeah, that's my little nerd project that I have going on now. My woodsy baby nerd project.
Very interesting, because I thought this evening now it was quite provocative. Really, I thought choice of music and sounds and the subject matter. I thought it quite provocative, really.
Well, thank you, Jimmy. I think I know how people come up with an alter ego. I just woke up from a dream I was having, and I was like an Indian, Brigitte Bardot. My name was Brigitte Beaujeu. For those of you who don't know, Beaujeu means hello. Brigitte Beaujeu is not a tiny and delicate beauty like Brigitte Bardot. She's not a pouting beauty, but she's outspoken too. The birds follow her and talk to her all day. She scolds the blue jays for being too greedy, and she puts a bowl of cat food out for the crested titmouse. The chickadees hop on her legs when she sits down. It tickles her and she laughs really loud, but it doesn't scare 'em. The hummingbirds steal strands of her indestructible hair for their nests and fly up to her face to thank her for the nectar she makes them and the flowers she plants them. Okay, she's just like me. People of the flood. We are the people of the flood. We know when her banks are gonna spill. We know the thrill of letting her take us down to the next town and down again. We are the people who run. We love our light in the sun. We have songs to sing, ideas to bring around. We are the people of the woods. We always have the goods, brought down the creek from our stills in the hills. We are the people of the flood. We know when she's gonna run dry. We don't always know why, but we feel it coming. We are the people who fly at night, who back you in the fight. We have songs to dance, and we are willing to take that chance. We are the people of the mountain. We face the wind and the rain head on until it's gone and come back again. I think we should kick this out with a victory song.
Kashelaya pitawa
pitawa pahacha eyuha natampelo weo la kota hokshila he tinkacha eyuha natampel tukashela ya pitawa pahacha eyuha